warned you. You're lucky she loves you.
Hopefully if you're watching this video, you have finished Married to a Sleepwalker. If you haven't, then this is your chance to go back and watch episodes 1 through 9. Hope you enjoy it. Still here? Great. So I imagine many of you have thoughts about the shooting of this movie, the ending, how does it fit in with the larger world of Kate's Crossing, the Burger Shack reference, and so on. Well, you might be surprised to know that I wrote this movie in 2019, before the pandemic and before Vintage 8 analog horror was even a thing. We were nearly finished shooting the movie when COVID shut us down for a few months. If I remember correctly, we only had 3 days left. The illness in the movie was actually based on an encephalitis outbreak that occurred in the Northeast.
We started filming this, I think, August or September before COVID hit. So that would have been like September of 2019, I think. We shot like 80 or 90% of the film. And I forget what the reason was, but we stopped. And we were gonna get back to it like the beginning of 20 or early part of 2020. And COVID hit. And then you start seeing everything unfold with the pandemic. And it's just like this little low budget, no budget, little B film that we're shooting is like lining up with how everything with COVID is unfolding. It's so crazy.
I don't know if we predicted COVID, but it definitely hit home filming this and looking back at it, because the character that I was playing had this fear of not knowing what was going to happen and what was going on. And so going through COVID, we also had that kind of fear of not really knowing what this was and what was going on. So it was interesting to watch back, especially after COVID.
The original title for Married to a Sleepwalker was The Thing Inside Us. I made this movie on a dare. So I just started teaching part-time at LSU, and I often tell students that movies like money, but don't let money stop you from making your movies. If you want to make movies, then do that. Make them. However, I had a student question that logic. He argued that I never made a movie for nothing. He was right. I never really took my own advice. I never made a movie with no budget. Sacrilege, after all, was low budget, but we did have some money. Some funding. So I decided to put my money where my mouth was, or in this case, lack of money. Also, I wanted to up stakes. If I was going to do this, I was not only going to make it with no budget, I wanted to get the film distributed. So practice what you preach, right? Honestly, I'm not even sure that I completed the script before we started shooting.
When Paul talked to me about this project and I read through the first or second rough draft of the script, I was immediately like, yeah, I'm in. Any chance I get to do any kind of filming, any kind of video project, anything like that, budget, no budget, doesn't matter. When you're working with good people, you get to work with friends, it's a win.
I have a lot of good memories and some interesting ones. One of my favorite memories was there's scenes where I'm watering the lawn and it's kind of showing the passage of time. And so it was kind of fun because basically it was just me going out and changing into different pajamas every day and filming that part. And then also just like I got to roll around in the mud and like look like I've been outside for days. That was really fun as well. I enjoyed that. And then just in general working with friends of mine that I got to hang out with and work on a project together. That's always fun.
I remember them asking about crew. No crew. I was going to be a crew of one. So to be clear, I wrote, directed, shot, edited, worked sound, did sound design, produced, did special effects, managed the location, and did crafty. I did that every day we shot.
I think that what we were able to accomplish with very few people, basically Chad and I were the main actors. We had a few of other great actors, Dustin, Escalante, Ruben, they came in. But really it was me and Chad majority of the time. And Paul did everything else. Like Paul did pretty much everything else. And it was kind of fun because it's one of the few times I actually got to lend a hand with holding a mic or, getting him a camera where he needed, making sure he didn't fall if he was on a ladder, which normally I would never do those type of things. So that was kind of fun.
The only 3 things I didn't do was act, though I am asking the CDC director questions and you can hear my voice. I didn't do their makeup or handle wardrobe. They wore what they owned. Now, in case you're curious how I prepped myself for this project, I actually shot 2 short movies in this fashion, Earworm and Sleepless. I did those solo to see if I could handle the workload.
All right, you little shits. Who wants extra credit?
So the production of the movie, we shot weekends and a few weekdays over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks. We paused for COVID, which was months, and got together for the last 3 days, which still took a little bit of finagling to schedule. But while we were separated, I was editing it together just to show Chad and Christine that this wasn't a waste of time. A few months after I finished the first cut, the COVID quarantine was lifted. We scheduled a few pickups, and then after that, I sent it to a few distributors. Surprisingly, I had interest. I settled on High Octane Pictures. Now, I do think that timing helped. It was after COVID and a lot of filmmakers weren't making movies, so there wasn't a lot of inventory out there. Also, this was a disease movie coming out right after a worldwide pandemic. When you're in the movies, you learn quickly that timing is often everything. So at this point in the process, the movie cost me less than $500, $286 to be exact. I owned the location and the equipment, so that cost me nothing. I bought lunch and coffee. That was what I spent my money on. And sometimes Christine and Chad bought, which saved me a little. You've heard a lot about what I've done, but I want to be very clear. I could not have done this without Christine or Chad or any of the other actors that volunteered their time. They are the lifeblood of this project. For those of you looking to make something similar, your casting will make or break your movie. Find people who will partner with your cause. Otherwise, you most likely won't finish the project.
Essentially, 3 of us made this film, and it actually get done and you watch this thing, like, it makes you proud.
I hope everybody enjoys it and gets something out of the film and enjoys watching it, and maybe makes you think about what things could be like, or maybe what's happening that you don't realize is happening in the background.
So why did this movie end up on YouTube? Well, as of today, I've not made my $286 back. The movie was not profitable. Well, how can this be possible, you might ask? Well, distribution is a very expensive game. I had to pay, insurance, which is a necessity when you're getting distribution. This is to protect you in case you're sued. I also had to pay them to remix the movie. It was not distribution ready. I didn't have an M&E track or a 5.1 mix. Sound design has never been my strongest suit, and this is when it costed me. To distribute, the movie went into the hole $15K. So that means High Octane had to recoup the $15K they invested before I saw money. Now again, I want to stress that I wasn't cheated or anything like that. The rates they charged were fair and less than industry standard. It's just to get things in front of an audience, this movie had to pass quality control. The Thing Inside of Us was released on Amazon October 21st, 2021. Every 3 months, I still get quarterlies that tell me how the movie is done. Unfortunately, it still hasn't cleared the debt with High Octane, but it is close. The moral of this story: get a pro to do your sound design before distribution. Everyone will be happier. But again, I wanted to keep this as no budget as possible. So where does Vintage 8 fit in with all this? Well, I'm getting there. Honestly, I was extremely frustrated that a no-budget movie didn't make money. I didn't think it would make much, but I thought it would clear the debt at least and make a few pennies or something, but it didn't. I also couldn't understand why in reviews no one cared that I made this entire movie by myself. I thought that was worth a mention or something, but no, in every review I was compared to movies with way more effects and budget than I had. And to be honest, I started thinking this project might have been a waste of time and ultimately a failure. But that is when I discovered analog horror. That's when the light bulb went off. People were already doing this. Filmmakers were already making scary stuff for even less money than my no-budget movie. The thing inside of us wasn't a waste of time. It was just in the wrong place. I always wanted to do a YouTube channel, but never could figure out my angle. Now, many of you are already familiar with this part of the story, but after looking at analog horror, I gave it a shot with Boyle Advisory, bringing in a lot of what inspired me to do the thing inside of us. Thus, Vintage 8 was born from a channel that I created with the intention of showing 8mm movies. Obviously, that has never happened, or at least not yet. But regardless, YouTube. To me, YouTube is home of the no-budget movie. This is where the true indies are now. Here you can experiment, try new things, which is what this channel is and will always continue to be. I will continue to make mainstream work like Edie and the Demon Inside, but I will also continue to try out weird and unique ideas here. So how did I get the thing inside of us on the channel? Well, I asked. First, I asked to be let out of the contract. They said no. They still wanted to try to break even on the post costs. Can't blame them for that. With that said, they graciously gave me permission to put the movie on my YouTube page as long as I changed the name and altered it in a way that kept it from interfering with whatever they had planned for the movie. Thus the name change and re-edit. So what's the point of this video? Well, I know a lot of you are very creative and want to make movies, videos, etc. My advice is don't wait. Start today. Filmmakers make films. So if you're a filmmaker, do it. Don't worry about what other people think. In the end, it's all a learning process anyway. Don't have money? Use your phone. Practice makes perfect, so get practicing. With that said, don't wait for things to be perfect, because they rarely ever are. So get to work. I can't wait to see what you make, and of course, be on the lookout for my next project.